The sunflower lanyard is dead to the autistic community. Hi, my name's Connor. I'm an autistic speaker and consultant. Over the last few years, I've worked in various industries to be able to help fellow people on the spectrum, as well as the people who support us, and on top of that, to be able to educate the general public as to what it's like to be autistic and what they can do to help us. Despite the general public consensus, these lanyards have actually been around since 2016. They were introduced and pushed towards the autistic community as well as other communities which involve neurological differences such as dementia, etc. It was all about those of us who needed more help in a public setting, because having a hidden disability means that it's not visible, as it's said there. We don't have a wheelchair, we don't have a crutch to be able to alert to the people around us and to staff who may be able to help us that we have a disability. The sunflower lanyard changed all that. It allowed us to be visual about our disability, to wear it loud and proud if we wanted to. And along with that, we would be able to get assistance in areas that were normally heavily stressful for us. I don't think people appreciate how much it takes to actually wear one. You know, we have to admit our vulnerability. But if admitting our vulnerability is the only way that we're going to get help, a lot of us are more than happy to do so. These lanyards were actually first about really in airports. Airports are a very stressful situation. Oh, the amount of anxieties that already fly off my head. There's a high pressure to conform to a societal standard there. You've got to behave sensibly and normally and all these things. When stressed, I don't really have the ability to be able to socially conform. But also being stressed, I'm not able to process information in the same way, essential information that's needed in these kinds of environments. Or I'm not able to queue because of the uncertainty of how long the line will be, but also the stressful situation that will be on the end of the line, and the longer you're in the line, the more stressed out you're going to get about it, but you don't get... yeah, you get it. Having this changed all that. Last September, I was heading abroad for my first time as an adult. I'd been abroad as a kid, but I'd always been with my mum, and my mum, you know, my mum is what my mum does. She translates to the rest of the world and to me to find that balance where I'm going to be comfortable. Whether that's keeping me calm, whether that's just saying, oh, sorry, he's a bit uncomfortable. All that stuff. But I didn't go to Ireland with my mum. I wanted to do it as an adult, independently, because I felt I was ready for the challenge. I did take my friend with me for backup because I still wasn't going to be able to do things like talking to a taxi driver. That still freaks me out. But I knew that having something like this would take off so much of the anxiety through the airport system. I was given the confidence that the staff would be able to recognise the lanyard, recognise that I might not be behaving in the most conforming way. Little behaviours like the lack of eye contact doesn't mean that I'm being shifty, it means lack of eye contact. Also that when they're explaining something to me, that they may need to explain something a bit slower, a bit clearer, a bit more direct. And also just to be aware that I'm really not going to be in the most sound mindset. It delivered on that. I went to the airport and everything went so smoothly. I went to the check-in, everything was smooth. We went in a special queue to go round the main security queue straight through. And when it was time for boarding the plane, we were let on first. It worked swimmingly. I didn't have any of the anxiety I thought I was. I didn't have any, because that provided me with it. And it was brilliant. It had given me the ability to do that. And I don't think people understand properly when I say, I would not have been able to go to Ireland and speak at a conference had it not been for this lanyard. I documented it and showed it on my YouTube channel because I wanted other people to see the benefit of using one, and to hear that they were being recognised at more and more airports was brilliant. You go to an airport roughly, well, I hadn't been in 6 years. It's not a common occurrence for most people anyway. There are many more situations that are much more common that we could have done with extra help. And it was so good to hear that in 2019 at Christmas, shops like Tesco and Sainsbury's were getting on board with the sunflower lanyard scheme. This meant that not only were they giving them away to the people that needed them, but also they were educating their staff for when they see them that the person may be a bit stressed because of the increase of people in the shops. They may need specific directions when asking for an item and not just, oh yeah, it's over there somewhere. And then when it comes to the checkout, they might not be able to wait in the long queues, so some of them had a sunflower lane even. But also, the best thing that I find, the best thing that I heard from stories of people telling me this was that staff members were able to recognise that we weren't going to be able to pack everything at the 1,000 miles an hour speed that most of them do. Aldi, please recognise these, and please recognise the fact that we can't all pack at that speed because it's too overwhelming. This was great because it was in a public setting, but it wasn't really picked up by the public consciousness much, really. People showed some intrigue. It did seem like only the people who needed it knew about it. Now let's fast forward to March 2020, when the pandemic really started to hit Britain. For the first few months of the lockdown, we were locked down. A lot of us weren't going out, and especially the vulnerable people like myself, we weren't really going to the busy shops, so it wasn't really an issue. It was in June when the government issued that face masks must be worn in shops that it started to cause problems for our community. Being someone who has a lot of autistic eyes on me, and then also running Autism Assemble, our Facebook support group, it was very clear to us that we needed to do something to stop a problem that we knew would arise. Being autistic, we face enough already of people not believing in our condition just because there's nothing visual about it. So if an autistic person who was unable to wear a mask because of sensory difficulties or whatever reason were to go into a shop, we were scared that they were going to get judged by the public, judged by the staff members, etc. Nightmares were forming. I believe it was even public transport in June, and that was our specific urge to make the lock screens. But with the lock screens, they were just to explain, look, I'm exempt from a mask due to medical reasons. Here's in line with the government advice. I am allowed to do so. It's all good. But what we did, along with creating those resources, in fact, you can even see at the top what we put. We encourage people to wear their sunflower lanyards because it's the best way to be visual quickly about having a disability. They recognise them in airports, they recognise them in a few shops. Maybe, just maybe, it seeped into the public consciousness enough so that people are aware this means having a hidden disability, therefore may not be able to wear a mask. You're already starting to see where the problems have formed. We champion these lanyards for two reasons. One, we need to be visual about our disabilities in order to not get challenged for if we weren't wearing a mask. But two, because the shops were going to be a lot more manic, so hopefully staff members would have a bit more of an idea as to why we may not behave properly at times. My first experience going into a shop post-lockdown, we were in for 3 minutes and I shouted at 3 strangers. Out of stress, out of frustration, because I didn't understand how people weren't following the rules. I thought everyone was going to follow the rules. Nobody was. Next time it was all right because I knew the expectation was people weren't going to follow the rules. And I imagine in that situation we were getting looks. Like, my mum didn't say anything and I wasn't really paying attention, but you know, this kind of thing would be a way to translate, okay, that person's just clearly stressed by the situation, it's all good. They're not doing it to be violent, they're not doing it to cause a havoc, etc. However, this developed and more shops started to accept the sunflower lanyard and say, we're supporting the sunflower lanyard. So all us were like, oh my god, that's great, we've got Morrison's and M&S joining us now. We're going to be able to get the assistance we need in the shops, that's great. Nah. Although a lot of the messaging was right, a lot of the education wasn't. The bit of information they would have been given is that, look, if you see someone wearing these and not wearing a mask, it's because they have a hidden disability. Clearly, in the whole lost in translation thing, that turned into, oh, okay, if you're wearing one of these, you must be mask exempt. No, separate things, separate things. This led to a lot of shops just handing them out to their staff who are mask exempt. Not specifically those with a hidden disability, those who are mask exempt. There's a difference. People really got confused by this site. I've even heard comments of people saying that they've been challenged for this situation by people saying things to them like, why are you taking a lanyard? Someone else may need that who can't wear a mask. Oh, people. That's not the point. It became apparent that the staff members in shopping chains, I'm not pointing at any of them specifically, but they weren't educated as to what they were for. They were given the information that there was a mask exemption lanyard. And when you translate that to the staff and you have loads of people sitting on these checkouts, a very public position, not wearing masks and wearing a sunflower lanyard, how quickly does that translate to the public as, okay, mask exemption lanyard? My friend Holly and I, who co-runner of Autism Assemble, we were very much aware of this problem at the end of August. And ever since then, it's spiraled. So much so that people who need sunflower lanyards, who are only just finding out about them, aren't able to get their hands on them. And that so many people who don't need them are using them. Obviously, we can't judge people. We can't say, you must be abusing it, you must be using it for the wrong reason. But statistically, I like to look at statistics, so this is what I'm working it out as. The Hidden Disability website gives us some facts, so I'm going to go off them. They say 1 in 5 people in the UK have a disability. They also say that 80% of disabilities are hidden. We can work this out roughly as 16% of the population has a hidden disability. Therefore, 16% of the population will be eligible for wearing a sunflower lanyard. It's also very important to point out that that's a maximum of 16% of people. Because if I don't want to have help, I like the fact I've got control over that. But also personally, I feel that if I'm wearing one, okay, a staff member may pay extra attention to me when there could be someone else over there who's in need of help, and I don't want that to happen if I'm not in a struggling position. A lot of people very much wear them as a comforter. It's become their lifeline for going out. They only have the confidence to be able to do things independently because of this lanyard. And when you go into any shop and you see more than 16% of people wearing them, it's a drastic difference too. Like I probably notice somewhere from a quarter to a third, that kind of range of people wearing them, which is fine if they genuinely need it. However, it just raises the question of, are they properly educated on it? Because if the people who they've seen it from haven't been, there might be that chain reaction there. This really didn't help that A, they were either free from the shops or they were 55p to buy online. Because it very much came across as, pay 55p and you won't have to wear a mask. I've even heard stories of them being sold on the black market in schools. And then worse than that, they're being sold on eBay and Amazon for like 8 quid, 12 quid, 13. That's putting a premium on the people that do need it, but also it's making it a valuable item. All because people want it to not wear a mask. Now, you should never challenge somebody about their disability, because I like to go out there with the mindset of, okay, everybody's wearing these for the right reason. Realistically, I know that's not the case. Over the last couple of months, I have inquired about something though. If I've seen a staff member on a checkout wearing a sunflower lanyard, I've gone up to them kind of, in solidarity and been like, oh, isn't it good that these are being recognised nowadays? And then I said, just out of intrigue, so what training have you had on them? Like, have you had all the proper training? And that's when their faces look blank. And I don't blame them at all, because it is the responsibility of their higher ups to be able to educate to them as to why they were given one. But it very much comes apparent that they think it's a mask exemption lanyard. Now, there is another entity in this that is causing further problem, and unfortunately that's hidden disabilities themselves. If you look into it, it came from such a genuine place. It was wanting to help people like myself in stressful situations. But unfortunately, they've not helped distinguish between a sunflower lanyard and a mask exemption. It doesn't help that they were being sold as a, here's your sunflower lanyard and you've got a mask exemption card that comes along with it. They should be the one policing the fact that, look, make sure there's a difference. Like, yeah, I get the convenience of having your mask exemption card on the end, of course I do. But when you're going to these big shops, that's when you need to be extremely clear on the information of going, don't give these to people as a mask exemption. That is not what it's for. There's actually further problems with this, and these are things that I don't think were created maliciously, these problems, but because it's a private organisation that owns the licence for Sunflower Lanyard, well, that's the problem. It's a licence. If anybody wants to use them, they have to license it from this organisation. Imagine if it was like that for the blue badge symbol, the little disabled icon. It wouldn't work. This may not seem a massive problem, but it means that huge organisations and charities can't publicly support the Sunflower Lanyard because it's a business thing, which isn't how we want them. So it would be great if it was in the public domain. To have all this happen and to hear all these stories of abusing them is really, really crushing for people like myself. People who have depended on them. They've provided something to us which I don't think anything else ever has. Imagine if you went up to someone in a wheelchair and took their wheelchair away from them because it's meaningless. Gone, okay, try get around the shop now. You wouldn't even imagine that. That's what it's like. To be stripped away from the thing that gives us the independence is absolutely horrible. I make the comparison to the physical disabilities because that's the easiest one to get through to people. People understand it that way. And when you think about it, everything else in the disabled world has got proper policing about it. If you want a blue badge, you have to go through a process. If you want a radar key, you have to go through a process. It's to ensure that the people who need them get them, and then the people that are abusing them don't get them. Of course, having a police system means that people who do need them sometimes aren't able to get them, but that's the problem with that system. The Sunflower Lanyard tried an open system, and I think it's become very apparent that it didn't work. I'd love to say it could be saved, but it isn't helped by the fact that it's still going around in the public consciousness that it's a mask exemption lanyard. What's heartbreaking to see is that people are really just misinformed. For example, on This Morning the other week, Josie Gibson was educating people about the Sunflower Lanyard because her brother, who's deaf, needed extra assistance. She was explaining that as a carer of her brother, she could wear the sunflower lanyard, not wear a mask, and then communicate to her brother. So pure intentions behind that. However, that's not what we were sold them for. Diminishes the meaning of how we're using them. And it's so hard when they're coming from the right place. But it's just miseducation. It's the wrong information. And we're having to make a stand to put the right information out there. For the last couple of months, I can't tell you the amount of things that I've tried to do to try and fix all this. Nothing has worked. You know, the amount of TV producers I've had conversations with, the amount of journalists that have ignored me, the amount of everything. Everything's led to a close road. It got to the point of anger for us when the Sunflower Lanyard organisation introduced a card to go on the end saying, I am a carer of someone. Yes, again, that's well-intentioned, but it's just another punch in the face to us. They gave us something that we depend on and gave us such liberation. And then they were the ones that also kicked us. I do think it's at the point of no return. I don't think it's going to be able to recover from this. As the pandemic finishes, are people going to stop wearing the lanyards? And then are people going to be like, but why are you still wearing the lanyard? And is that when they'll be able to be re-educated? Have we got to wait until then to be able to have the correct information out there? I want to push the right information out there because it is a good system. Yes, it has its flaws, but it's done more good than it has harm, and it's crushing to see what has happened to it. I do think, though, I think it is ruined. I think the misinformation it came out there too quickly that people aren't going to know the right information. Me and Holly created our campaign of the burnt sunflower lanyard, and I know that's quite a shocking image, trust me. Like, I was funny about it at first. We actually sat on it for 3 weeks. Like, people won't realise these kind of things. A, they don't burn. It's not this one that burnt, but they don't burn. Also, we're really not encouraging people to go and burn them themselves either. It's just a visual, symbolic representation of the anger that we feel it's led to. Like, this campaign, I'm sitting here recording this not even 24 hours after we started this campaign, but I know we've hit, I think, about 1.5 million people by now by having that image, and quite simply without that image we wouldn't have reached the people that we have. And the vast majority of people are A, either sticking up for us, B, admitting their own flaws in their education and going, oh, okay, I didn't actually know that's what it's for. I've actually been wearing one myself and I realise I've been wearing it wrong, so I'm so sorry. That kind of thing. So it is working. And I wanted this video to go out first so people could hear my full story with it. Of course, we had to paraphrase a lot in social media campaigns because that's how it works. You have to do something shocking to get out to a lot of people. It's not my normal approach, but I'm happy with it. I'm happy with how it worked, but please don't do anything, you know, like that with the fire. If you feel that it's lost meaning for you, put it in a drawer or something. If we can regain it, great, because I hope we can regain the meaning, and that would be the best scenario. But I think down the line anyway, it's going to get tripped up by the whole licensing stuff and all that. So maybe we do need something new. What should have happened is that clearly the public recognised that the lanyard is a very convenient visual aid to be able to alert to a lot of people what the message you're trying to spread is. This is why people in shops wear them, because you can see they work for that shop. That's a bit of information you need to know. That's the whole point of a sunflower lanyard, so we can alert to people visually, so they can pay attention to us and help us on any of our needs. There should have been a mask exemption lanyard, an official one. There are in hospitals, there are on eBay, there really are out there. Please use one if you are mask exempt. I think they're on eBay for like £3. If you genuinely have a mask exemption, please don't use this. If you don't need to, use something else. If you want a lanyard, there are choices. It fills me with great upset to what's happened with it, and I don't want to see people who need help being denied that because of something that they put confidence in to be ruined. Because we did. It was a two-way system. Our community had to embrace this. We did, and it backfired. And I just hope people aren't destroyed by that. I feel it. Of course I do. But I know that I don't need this most of the time. It's the people who are going out there every single day needing it. If they're not getting the assistance they need, that's really a problem. We need to educate people. I'm hoping that now we've kicked up a social media storm, it should lead to media opportunities to which I can go on various media and educate people, because that's what's needed. The public education is really needed. I'm hoping that the Sunflower Lanyard organisation finally pay attention to the things we've been saying, get in touch and we'll help them if we can, or if they're not willing to comply to a mutual arrangement, obviously, then that's where we will have to stop supporting them. I think everyone's heart's in the right place, that's the thing. Apart from the people abusing them, obviously. But it's just a terrible shame as to what's happened with them. And I don't want to go on much longer. So it's time to fight it. Be kind, be empathetic. Don't call someone out because you see them wearing a lanyard. Don't call someone out because you see them wearing a mask and a lanyard. Don't be a horrible person. Just spread the information out as passively as you can. We had to do an aggressive campaign to launch it, but that's how these things start. You have to do something big to get people talking about it. We have got people talking about it, and now we want to be able to educate people properly. Look at the social media comments so far, look at the quote tweets, look at the comments, look at the everything. You hear so many more stories echoing everything that I'm saying, and it's heartbreaking. So it's time to change it. Little update while editing. I've had to step away from my Mac because I'm editing and the fan's going. We've had a response from Hidden Disabilities. Here it is. So they've not got our point. We're not having a go at them saying that they condone people abusing them. Of course not, because, well, they'd be very bad people if they did that. We're condoning them not doing enough to distinguish the difference between a sunflower lanyard and a mask exemption, which they really should be doing. They failed to realise that, and they've failed to admit the problem, therefore they are refusing to act upon it in this current moment. The comments to their post, which I'm sure they thought was going to get loads of support, got loads of people on our side. But yeah, we want to be friendly about it. We are a little bit suspicious that they're now deleting comments and encouraging people who they know to post good things because it's looking a bit suspicious. But in the comments of that, I've seen things like people posting saying, I messaged you about this in March saying this was going to happen and you said you'd do something about it, but you haven't. So proof's in the pudding. That's a weird expression. That's the kind of stuff going on there. There's a few other points that I just want to throw in that I realised I didn't really include in the video. Going back to the whole airport situation, it did expand to more things than just autism and dementia. Like people who were like arthritic, for instance, or had any kind of stomach issues or diabetes or something which meant they couldn't be in one place for a long time. It meant that they could find use from it, and I'm all for that. Anybody that can find genuine use from the sunflower lanyard that's going to benefit and improve their life, then they should be the ones using it. I don't care about the condition, because there's been a bit of that online saying, oh, you're just saying autistic people are better than everyone. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying anyone who will get help should get help. Also, to continue on the airport thing, I can't believe I didn't put this in the video, but imagine once this whole pandemic's over and you've got all of these people who have got the sunflower lanyards from doing all the shops, then go to an airport and say, there's a sunflower lanyard lane, I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to skip security, and then the security queue is going to be longer than, the sunflower queue is going to be longer than the normal queue, and then we're going to be in trouble. But yes, overall message to conclude before I hand back to me saying goodbye, we cannot say that any single person is abusing it. We all have hidden disabilities, we must respect that. What we can say is misinformation has gone out there, and misinformation will naturally lead to abuse. That's it. That is what we are saying. Saying the wrong information has gone out there, it needs correcting, and let's try fix this. I did have in that video saying that I was going to create a little 1-minute video saying this is what a lanyard is, this is what it's actually for, blah, 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 blah. But I don't have enough trust in the lanyard, in it surviving for me to do that at this current time. But maybe you'll see that pop up. Anyway, back to me to finish it off. I've been Connor Ward. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.